So I decided to read again, slowly, the Gospels again from beginning to end, starting obviously with Matthew's Gospel. And this morning, I'm in Matthew chapter 2, right at the very beginning, and we're with the Magi who are coming out to see Jesus. And something struck me that I had always known that Herod was troubled at Jesus, but you know when you read the Bible again, you always catch things that you never noticed. And one of the things I caught today that I had never seen in Matthew chapter 2 was not only was Herod troubled, but it said all of Jerusalem with him. I thought, why was all of Jerusalem troubled at what the Magi had to say? Well, let's look what the Magi had to say. And the three things that are contained in this sentence, I think, are the three things that rocked the world with the birth of Jesus Christ. So what do the Magi say? Well, first we have to remember they came from the Far East, so that's modern-day Iraq or Iran. So we're not talking about Jews. But the thing that they say is, "Where's the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east, and we've come to worship him." And I decided, since I'm reading Matthew's Gospel again, that'd be perfect for one of these vlogs, because I think all three of the things that rock the world are in that very sentence. So let's look at the first one. Where's the newborn King of the Jews? You have to remember that the bloodline of the Jewish royalty from King David was hidden. It was underground because of the oppression since King David of the Babylonians, the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, and finally the Romans. In fact, if you look at the bloodline, Joseph is the hidden king of Israel. We know that Jesus is not of his genome because Jesus was conceived by the Holy Spirit in the womb of the Virgin Mary. And there's some different theories on the genealogies of Matthew chapter 1 and Luke chapter 3, how we explain that. But it looks like Mary and Joseph were both of this bloodline. Now, even though Jesus' genome comes entirely from Mary, and he's the Son of God, and Joseph's always been called the foster father of Jesus, Joseph is this underground king of Israel, if you trace his bloodline back. So everybody knows that there's a suppressed bloodline, and that most of the people who were in power, like Herod at the time, are kind of pseudo-Jews. He was an Edomite, which is kind of a half-breed, and he did build the temple that Jesus and Mary and Joseph ended up going to, but everybody knew he wasn't the best guy. And so because they had had thousands of years of rule by Babylonians, Medo-Persians, Greeks, and Romans, it's no wonder their hearts were struck, all these first-century Israelis, all these first-century Hebrews, because for someone to say the newborn king of the Jews, kings just weren't born then. Kings weren't born. They were self-made like Herod. And so it struck their hearts to hear there would be another king like David who would establish this united kingdom. So that's the first reason. Where's the newborn King of the Jews? Just simply the term newborn king would have blown their minds, because there was no such thing as born kings in a time when foreign Edomites like Herod could take over. Okay, the second line that we have there, after he says, "Where's the newborn King of the Jews?" he says, "We've seen the star in the east." Well, we have to say, why would all of Jerusalem's hearts be troubled along with Herod in that? Well, I don't know if the word in Greek of troubled means worried only, or also shaken with hope. I'm not really sure. But when we look at that very line, we saw his star in the east, that means there was a global pointing to him. There's a really cool movie on YouTube you can look at called The Star of Bethlehem, I think it's called. And I don't remember everything that was in it, so you can go watch that. But I do remember the words of Fulton Sheen, and Fulton Sheen has a great talk called The Pagan Prophecies Predicting Jesus. He talks about Cicero. He even mentions Buddha, actually. And Buddha said, according to Archbishop Fulton Sheen, who's now on his way to canonization and probably the greatest teacher on TV that the American Christian world has ever seen. He even reached more people than Billy Graham, remember. But Fulton Sheen points out that Buddha said, "I am not the light of the world. The true light of the world will come in 600 years, and his name will be Atriya." Now, Atriya, in one of those ancient Indian languages, means love. And you have to remember, Buddha lived 600 years before Jesus Christ. So Buddha predicted Jesus Christ, that Buddha wouldn't be the true light of the world, that a man named Atriya, which means love, would be the light of the world. So you can listen to Fulton Sheen's talk because he goes through pagan prophecy after pagan prophecy after pagan prophecy. In other words, it wasn't just the Old Testament predicting the Messiah. The whole world, like a volcano rumbling, was just full of expectation and full of violence. To be pregnant with this much expectation in the light of so much violence, it's a lot like the world that we're in today, in waiting for some relief. So when we hear that they saw a star in the east, we understand that there was a global pointing to this baby, Jesus Christ. But all of not just the Jewish prophecies, but the worldwide prophecies were honing in on Bethlehem. Okay, and then the third thing that we see there is the Magi say we've come to worship him. Now, if you look at Herod or even King David, you got to realize no Jew ever worshipped King David. That wasn't in the understanding of the Hebrew mindset of the Old Testament. They greatly honored them, but nobody would have conflated honoring with worship, kind of like we talked about in the honoring of the saints in the other video. The word in Greek that is used in Matthew chapter 2 is proskunasai, and what that means is literally worship. So when the Magi say that they've come to worship the newborn King of the Jews, well, it's no wonder the hearts of everyone are troubled in the first century, because this means he's not just king, he's God. So these are the three reasons why the birth of Jesus Christ rocked the world.
This love